everybody, and welcome to the Good Anime Palette Podcast. This is episode 21. Even though my birthday ended, because it was yesterday, every day is a cause for celebration when we're talking about anime and manga here. I am your co-host, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, as usual, with energetic Will over here.
Before we get into it, should we just say one more happy birthday, Jason?
Well, technically,
happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Fluffy Senpai.
No, you gotta say it in Japanese, man.
No, we're not doing that. The last time we did that, I told you to stop it.
Yeah, that was really cringe on my part.
Yeah. So, energetic, you say? Yeah, I'm as energetic as can be.
Because I'm always serious.
Yeah, I've got like a weird sort of like head cold, but like I don't know. I woke up feeling kind of fuzzy, but just
not
do what I could.
Not the fuzzy warm type of fuzzy.
No, I was feeling like a little bit hazy. Just basically like spent time just to recuperate, drink a lot of water. Just literally injected some acetaminophen straight into my nostrils, and crushed a bunch of vitamin C. So hopefully I feel a lot better then. So yeah, let's crack on with today's episode. Today's going to be a very, very emotional episode, I think. Simply because it's something that's near and dear to Fluffy Senpai's heart.
Yes, but before we get to that, we will be going over what we've been watching and reading. Will, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Sure.
So actually been spending quite a lot of time this past week just catching up on seasonals. So I'm pretty caught up, or at least, like what's out right now. I'm caught up with Komi Can't Communicate, with Osama Ranking, which, by the way, is fucking fantastic. I've also been catching up with Dropless Reincarnation, which is also fantastic. And Tact Op Destiny, which... Actually, might as well do this now. So just to do like a quick kind of mid-bet recap on what's been happening with the current seasonal performance. Originally, the bet was that Jason said there'd be 5 shows and below that were ranked 8 and up on my anime list. As for me, I said there were 7 shows. Now, originally, I think like 2 weeks ago, it was a day heat. Literally, it was just 6 shows right in the middle. Nothing was budging. And it looked like, I guess, both of us were going to have to, I guess, tie or lose, depending on how you see it.
Yeah, win and lose at the same time, basically, yeah.
But, unfortunately, over the past 2 weeks, Tact Op Destiny has slowly been slipping in the rankings. It is now holding a 7.89 or 8.8. It's not doing too well right now. And I don't think...
7.87.
It dropped again. Okay. It's just literally slowly, 0.01 every day. I don't know. I mean, there's still quite a long way to go for the anime season. So let's see anything else decides to perform well. But that's up to the show itself, right? It's up to what the viewers decide. So let's see.
In regards to
I wasn't done yet at all.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Jesus. Okay, my bad.
Dude, are you going to let me finish? So yeah, Tact Op is okay. I quite like it, but I think the reason why it's been kind of slow is because it's kind of ramped down the intensity that the first episode and the second episode dropped with. So it's been a little bit more sort of like soul searching, a little bit more character development, not quite really what the actual intensity levels were when it first started, but hey, whatever. One show that I am actually trying to catch up as quickly as possible, because the second season is currently airing right now, is 86. So 86 dropped earlier in this year, and one of the things I briefly mentioned was that 86 kind of felt like a slightly lighter version, or like a kind of different version of Code Geass. The more I watched it, the more I'm starting to like it. It's definitely getting a little more emotional. I think it's the more emotional Code Geass, if I was to describe it in a couple of words. I'm definitely getting more and more invested into it. And the fact that 86 Season 2 was doing so well, that I felt like I just needed to check it out. Thoroughly enjoying the 86 Season 1 journey so far. But given the amount of seasonals I'm watching at this moment, and also with all the upcoming homework I need to do for the future episodes, it's going to be tough for me to try and finish off, at least catch up and be able to finish 86 second season before the end of 2021. So let's see how it goes. Well, that's generally what I've been watching. All the shows I mentioned just now are great. Keep out your seasonals, pick up 86 if you can, and yeah, just happy watching.
All right. Okay, that sounds good, Will. Would you think that you'll be able to finish 86 season 2?
Literally, I just said I won't be able to finish it before the end of 2021.
Christ, oh my god, I'm so tired. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like I'll be leading today's episode. So, Jason, what have you been reading and watching for the past 2 weeks before, you decide to ask and repeat the same things I said just now?
Well, I have actually been watching one seasonal in particular that I picked up recently. When we were looking at the fall seasonal anime, one show kind of came out of nowhere. Currently, it holds a 7.66 on my anime list. And that's not necessarily like, a thing to take notice, except I'm pretty sure when we were looking at all the shows that were premiering, and then maybe the first couple of weeks, this show wasn't even close to being on any of each of our radars.
Yeah, I had no clue it existed.
And then all of a sudden, it showed up, obviously. So it is called Taisho Otome. Oh, shit. Okay, basically...
Otogi Banashi.
Thank you. It is Taisho Maiden Fairy Tale, basically, is the English name. It is an anime that is made by Synergy SP, which is a studio that you don't really hear that name pretty often.
But I think when we did our sports episode, we listed they did a lot of old 90s and 2000s sports anime.
Right. Yeah. So this anime is based off of the manga of the same name, but I do not think that there is an official English licensing or translation. But it is interesting to note that, first of all, that manga, the source, is only 5 volumes and 42 chapters. So it's pretty short. It's also an 8.30 on my anime list. So it's ranked really high. It's ranked 274. And I watched the anime. Specifically, I watched 5 episodes, and I think the 6th one came out this morning. So I haven't watched that yet. But basically, it is about a guy in the 1920s in Japan where he's basically outcast by his family because he got into a car accident and lost his mother. And he also lost the ability of using his right hand. So because of that, his family kind of exiled him because he's like a blemish on the family name. People the siblings kind of resented him because the mom died because of you. And then he get banished to basically their summer home in some countryside somewhere in the middle of God knows where. Then one day, out of nowhere, on one winter night, a girl randomly shows up at his door, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna be your wife. We good?" "Yeah." And then he just flips the hell out, and then it talks about their interaction with each other. They kind of introduce the main male character's family when they start showing up bit by bit, and talks about essentially what if your waifu was also a legitimately good and caring housewife. That is the gist of this anime and manga.
Those don't exist. Waifus and people who actually take care of you as well.
Yeah, I mean
that sounds impossible. That's a unicorn right there.
Well, unicorns apparently exist in this anime, Will. So I think this anime is decent for sure. I think the score of 7.66 is extremely accurate in that it is not necessarily a show that I would go wholeheartedly recommend, but it isn't a bad show either. It's just sort of if you want a show that is extremely wholesome and kind of shows the progression of this male main character who is debilitated, depressed, and just pessimistic and cynical about life, kind of get healed over time by a mysterious, short, petite girl who also says, "Yo, I'm actually your wife." So, yeah, that is it for that anime.
Animation wise, how does it look? Because I only really know Synergy SP from like the initial D days. So like, how does it look now in 2021?
Now, so Initial D back in the day actually looked pretty good. I don't know if it will hold up now, but I remember back then it was pretty slick. This being a slice of life / romance kind of show doesn't necessarily need all that flashy animation. It's fine, basically. It's perfectly good, but nothing outstanding.
Like very much like a 7.5. You can go either way with it depending on how much you relate to it, how much you care about it, really.
Yeah, and they're also adapting another manga series called A Couple of Cuckoos, which is quite popular, although not very highly rated as a manga. So we'll see how that goes. But for all intents and purposes, this animation adaptation is fine, and the show is also fine. As you said, it's very 7.5. Could go either way.
All right, that's it for you on the anime front, right?
Yeah.
Been catching up with any seasonals, or
actually, I have other than
been
like
trying to at least.
Komi and My Senpai's Annoying, I've kept up with, and everything else I will like consume as much as possible.
Dude, you gotta get on that King's Ranking hype train, man.
Yeah, I'm like 3 episodes behind. Okay, yeah, no, I really will get on it. Like
I will say this: shit gets great, shit gets interesting. I would forgive you for maybe taking your time with Jobless, because I feel like Jobless is one of those things where it's like you can let it build up and then like sit down and just watch it in like a 1 to 2 hour chunk. But King's Ranking, that's for me right now like my go-to anime for the season.
I mean, there's a reason why Ranking of Kings is the number 1 rated anime.
8.80, right?
Is it now?
I mean, like last night at least I saw when it was 8.80.
Oh, yeah, it is 8.80. Jesus Christ. Ranked 29. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
There actually is a forum at the bottom where people are asking, is this correct? Like, is the ranking actually like that high? Like, what's going on here?
It's the king of this anime season.
And people are just wondering, too. It's like, it can't be that good, right? Now, I can assure you, look, again, before we go into, maybe, because you've read some manga, so I just want to quickly say, like, 15 seconds here. I like the show. I really do like the show. I also don't understand why it's so highly ranked. Right now, it's like a solid 8.5 for me, but to see it be an 8.8, basically people are giving it 9s and 10s already when it's only 5 episodes into the actual season.
So, obviously, I have not watched the latest 3 episodes. I only watched 2 episodes. So, this opinion that I'm going to have might very likely change. But it's a very solid 8. And it can potentially go up to a 9, I guess.
It's got a long way to go. I mean, it's slated for 2 cours.
Yeah, I know. So we're in for the long haul here.
Let's see how it goes. All right, so that was the anime front. Now, manga front, I'll be honest, I haven't really read all that much. Maybe I've read a couple chapters of, watching more Golden Kamuy because that shit's great. But yeah, not as slick when it comes to the manga side. But I think for you've been a little bit more active on that front.
I mean, I usually read quite a bit of manga now. I think it's a habit that I picked up since the inception of this podcast. But I rarely talk about manga series unless like it's worth mentioning, to be honest. And this one is absolutely worth mentioning.
Right? JoJo Part 6.
Yes, Stone Ocean, December 1st.
You're reading it before you watch it, right? No, I'm joking. Wait, so what have you been reading?
So there is a manga called Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Now, this manga is 8.61 on my anime list, rank 71, popularity 372. And it debuted April of last year.
Yeah, that's the insane part. Like having that high anime rank, manga ranking. Okay, like that's definitely like great on its own. But the fact that it only debuted a year and a half ago was fucking crazy.
It got 2 million copies in circulation within the first year. It is ranked second on the best manga of 2021 for male readers.
Like it must have picked up some awards and nominations for sure.
Yeah, the 14th Manga Taisho Award, the new Creator Prize, the 45th Kodansha Manga Award in the shonen category.
So actually, there's one thing I do want to question, right? Because this is not serialized in Kodansha. It's
Yes.
serialized in Shokakugan.
That's correct.
So how does that actually work?
So it's originally serialized in Shokakugan's Weekly Shonen Sunday,
Right.
as Will alluded to just now. In English, it is published by Viz Media. The first volume of which actually came out this week on November 8th. And according to Wikipedia, there is like 5 or 6 Japanese volumes out. So,
yet to be translated.
And I think they confirmed the release date of up to volume 3. So I read volume 1.
Oh, that's interesting. So it doesn't necessarily, like, just because like the original publisher had it in Japanese doesn't necessarily mean that the English licensing rights are going to be from the same people. The creator has a choice in terms of which publishing company to go with.
It looks that way, but
Yeah.
I honestly do not know how that works, and that's like a whole like negotiations, lawyers and rights, and I
Maybe we should do an episode on that.
Oh no, no, Will.
No, okay, so Fieren, right?
Yeah, Beyond Journey's End.
What's the manga about?
Okay. So, imagine a very stereotypical fantasy scenario. Not isekai, though, where there's like elves, there's dwarves, humans, whatever.
Arcane magic and shit.
Of course, yes. And then there is, of course, a demon king. And when there is a demon king that threatens humanity, what do? You send a party of 4 to go and destroy the demon king. Okay, so you go about, the life saga, the journey and everything, and you get to the demon castle, kill the demon king, you go back home, you're celebrated as heroes, great. That's right then and there, the celebratory parade. That's when the story begins. Because Fieren is a mage, elf mage to be precise. And her party consists of 2 male, actually all 3 are male, a dwarf who is a warrior, and then there is the hero, and then there is a priest who is, heals shit, I guess. In this world, elves live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, if not like a lot longer. They don't really talk about that, but in general, speaking in terms of like Dungeons and Dragons, elves live a hell of a long time.
Right, like you can come across like an elf who is like 240, but in human years that's like 30.
Exactly. So it focuses on this elf mage over time, kind of dealing with, well, what happens when the major quest is done and there's peace? What happens when you watch all of your friends around you die? And what happens when time relative to you to everyone else is extremely different, and your point of view in comparison to everyone else is very foreign? That is Fieren Beyond Journey's End. It is a character study of someone who basically outlives all the people that she cares about, and at the same time tries to understand what it means to be human, a dwarf, but really a person, basically. And it mixes a very, very good amount of life lessons, kind of like the progression of the changes that she makes, the people that she meets, and the promises that she has, because I don't say that there's a lot of violence or anything, but there is a lot of, I guess, character moments, and it's actually very, very good. I anticipate that this manga will get an anime adaptation easily. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the awards it's gotten, the ranking it's gotten on like my anime list, Mal is never like really indicative of whether something should be serialized or adapted, right? But it just sounds like it's catching a lot of steam. I mean, 8.67 right from the get-go after a year and a half is pretty nuts. So, yeah, let's see if it gets adapted. So, that's pretty much what we've been reading and watching. Of course, there's loads more stuff we've been watching, but that's going to be part of the major discussion for today's episode. Now, We do want to spend enough time to go over today's discussion topic, but it would be very remiss of us to just, gloss over news because, holy hell, there has been a lot of news.
We actually had, I don't know, like over 10...
13 articles.
Right, but we ended up cutting more than half of it because we think that the first half is extremely important, and they're all anime adaptation announcements. So let's start with the big boy.
Really? All of them are kind of big boys, honestly. It's actually hard to pick one which is the biggest boy.
Well, for me at least.
The one that you probably been hyping the most, right?
There is a number of mangas that Will and I have been advocating throughout the existence of this podcast.
We've mentioned throughout this podcast, we talked about little minor updates from the creative team, but this time, it's real.
So, Spy X Family, the domestic spy comedy manga, is going to get a TV anime adaptation in 2022.
I'm so fucking happy.
It is unsurprising because, come on, everyone expected it. It's just a matter of when, and apparently that time is now. It is also, I have to say that one thing is interesting is the studios that are involved. And you heard me correct. I said plural because it is both Wit Studio and Cloverworks. They did like a crossover kind of symbol, so I'm not sure exactly how they're going to distribute the workload, who is going to be in charge of what exactly, but Cloverworks is hot off the train with Horimiya, and Wit Studio, come on, Ranking of Kings this season, come on. So,
don't forget they also did Vivi 2
yes,
seasons ago.
Yes. So there is absolutely, this is like duo, best team duo ever.
I'm just glad that finally something has come out and it's not being adapted by Mappa.
But you like Mappa.
I do, but it's also like, man, like, them Mappa people gotta get some sleep, man. They gotta fucking chill out.
Didn't you show me that meme where it's like the eyes of Naruto, the eyes of Jujutsu Kaisen?
Well, no, because it was the eyes. Basically, it was Jujutsu Kaisen, and then there was it's just all like the Mappa stuff. So there's like the Eren eyes when he transforms to a Titan, and then there's like the CEO or like the
Chainsaw Man, the Chainsaw Man
as well. And then afterwards, it's like basically like one of the lead producers for Mappa, and his eye bags are huge,
dude. Like, bro. You need sleep, man.
Yeah. But anyways, this is not about Mappa. This is about the collab between Cloverworks and Wit Studios producing one of the more anticipated anime adaptations.
So I would say Chainsaw Man, in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's mind,
is the greatest manga of all time, and it needs to be adapted. Oh my god, it's getting adapted. Holy shit, right?
Exactly.
We're only talking about this because some troll decided to roll up a fucking Mal forum, and everyone got riled up.
Yeah, I showed you that literally last night,
I was reading, I was like, fucking angry, and then afterwards like, oh no, this guy's just baiting us.
Wait, do you actually have the...
No, his name is CSM_Chad, so he's basically an esports cuck. He's just like he literally just said things to make people angry. It's like, are you serious? Like, this is like the most anticipated manga of all time. It's getting so much steam. It's so much shit before. It's gonna get like an adaptation. Like, are you guys like not even fans? You're not gonna watch upcoming Chainsaw Man season?
So the forum topic, and I quote: "Can people who won't watch the Chainsaw Man anime next year even be considered anime fans?" Like, way to just rile people up.
You know that for sure. It's like when you're reading it, like you have that little gray area where you're like, you know that some people would seriously have that train of thought, but at the same time you're also like, this is just like,
don't fall for it, guys. And apparently
this is too stupid to actually be real. And at least this is from my take. I think this is just some asshole that's also just trying to piss people off.
Why does it matter?
Exactly.
But the reason why I mentioned Chainsaw Man is because even though Chainsaw Man is, I would say, highly anticipated by me, I would say is neck and neck personally with Spy X Family, because the two are quite different. One is more
extremely different.
Yeah, and I feel they fulfill like both sides of the spectrum. So I'm so happy that they got an anime adaptation now, and it's coming out next year.
Like, if you want like edgy, violent shonen, like Chainsaw Man is the thing to go to.
Absolutely.
But if you want like a nice, like literally a spy comedy that's done really well and the characters are like lovable as fuck, yo, like you can't go any further than Spy X Family.
And you can't go any further than, say, Wit Studio and Cloverworks. Yeah, that's a pretty good combo.
Dude, the staff is pretty stacked too. They got the music producer for Dora Hetero, the sound producer. They also have the director who's done like Mobile Suit Gundam, Rurouni Kenshin, and Dororo, which I have a love-hate relationship with, but hey, look, like let's give him a chance. Character design is done by the character designer of Promised Neverland. So there's going to be quite a pretty good cast of people working on the show. So, yo, I think like they needed to have a good staff in place to put this shit together. No announcement on the release date, right?
Just 2022 right now.
All right. Well, hey, that's good enough for me.
Yep, that's way, way good for me.
Yep.
So, the next anime adaptation announcements, because that's all we're doing for the news section, is Tonikawa Over the Moon for You, or as the manga is titled, Fly Me to the Moon. I watched the first season and the special, and I thoroughly like it. I'm pretty sure it's a Crunchyroll exclusive.
It's the only good Crunchyroll exclusive, right? At least that's like, I mean, because we watched a bunch.
I would say Inspector is okay, but
right.
in the ones that definitely stand out, the one that stands out the most is definitely Fly Me to the Moon or Tonikawa. Yeah,
not Tower of God.
It looks nice.
It looks nice, but we haven't finished it yet either.
The soundtrack is nice.
Yeah, but you were pretty like much like down for Tonikawa, right? I remember when you were talking about it, you were really into it, and like it just looked good, it felt good overall, like a very good show.
And I continued reading the manga afterwards. So they announced a second season. Lo and behold, there we go. Of course, comes to no surprise, Crunchyroll exclusive's most successful show. You're definitely gonna...
Now it's going to be exclusive on Netflix.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I don't know. I'm joking. Because it's not going to be like a Takagi kind of situation where season 1 is Crunchyroll and season 2 is Netflix.
Yeah, but Crunchyroll said that they're already confirmed streaming it, so they already got dibs.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, look, you're not pulling a fast one again, Netflix. This shit's ours.
So I'm excited for that. I don't think they announced a release date. They just said, yo, it's coming, which is fine for me.
Nice. So on to the next one. Hot off the presses, another adaptation, but again, not so much like a new property, but more a sequel, a continuation of an existing property. Bungo Stray Dogs is getting a 4th season. Woohoo! It's been so long since I watched season 3, and I was just not that down with Bungo Stray Dogs 1 that I kind of don't really remember a lot of stuff that happened.
Isn't Bungo Stray Dogs 1 that chibi like...
Exactly. That's the one. It's like 2 half episodes meshed into one. So it's like a 10, 12 minute episode, and then another 10, 12 minute episode, and then credits. Or it might have been kept separately. Either way, like I was just... It really wasn't something that I wanted to... It's not so much like you really like watching Fate, and then you watched Emiya-kun, the cooking SOL.
You really like that show.
But that's the thing. It's like it has literally nothing to do with fucking like and using the characters, but it's really good. Like even if you don't care about slice of life, but you really like Fate, like this is worth it. This, on the other hand, I was just like, I don't know, man. Like it definitely like fits a certain niche of Bungo Stray Dogs fans, which already itself is a pretty small niche. But what I'm happy about is, of course, that they're finally getting around to a 4th season. I think season 3 came out in 2019, so it wasn't like that long ago. It was only just 2 years ago. So, hey, pretty happy that they're going to be doing this.
So, Bungo Stray Dogs is extremely popular. And I have seen a couple of episodes of season 1, and I just never got around to watching more. I think last I remember, which is a long, long time ago, it was good, but that's about it to me.
My thing with it is that it kind of feels like Noragami in that it's decent, it's good, but like there's a lot of other stuff that's kind of similar and I prefer, but at the same time, like Bungo Stray Dogs in terms of mal rankings, like popularity is in the top 100. It's 99. That's pretty fucking high.
I just remember from season 1, the main two male main characters, and also that one high school girl that is like super 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 into her brother. And I was just like, you are in an office with all these people, and you're just letting this random high school girl come in to dote on her older brother. All right.
Oh, I do remember as well that the healer of the group is
There's a healer?
yeah. So she heals by beating people up.
What?
Basically to reinforce your body. So that's she's my favorite character in all of Bungo Stray Dogs.
I was about to make a really bad joke. Thank God you stopped me. Okay.
So Bungo Stray Dogs season 4, I think it's still gonna be done by Bones. Bones, I love them too. So expect some fireworks when the season finally drops.
Yes, it is made by Bones. And I have to say, though, that poster looks kind of legit. It's like very ominous, I guess. But apparently you know exactly what they're referencing.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, with Bungo... Actually, no, let's just wait for season 4 to drop, and then we'll talk about it. Because there's still a few more things we need to discuss before we get into our discussion.
I'm just going to say this, though. Gotta watch them all, Bungo Stray Dogs, for me?
Yes.
Okay, end of story. Moving on.
That could be one.
That could be one, exactly. All right. There is a live-action South Korean TV series on Netflix that has been making the rounds around the world. If you need me to actually tell you what the name of this TV series is, well then,
Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
So, Squid Game is a death game TV series that has been, going crazy and viral all over the world.
Yeah, it's almost like I haven't not heard of Squid Game over the past God knows how many days, over the past however many hours, because people just won't shut the fuck up about Squid Game.
And Halloween just ended, so everyone dressed up as the Squid Game.
Everyone dressed up as a fucking Squid Game character.
So, the reason why I mentioned this is because Squid Game belongs in a death game genre. There's also another Netflix show called Alice in Borderlands, where the English manga is getting adapted soon for English translation.
And I also think it's superior compared to Squid Game.
Ooh, hot take. And also they announced season 2 for both, actually, for Squid Game and Alice in Borderlands. And Alice in Borderlands, as you might expect, is also death game. Well, another death game is joining the anime adaptation front, and that is Tomodachi Game. And it's going to debut in April of 2022. Now, unfortunately, there is no official English translation for Tomodachi Game, but what I can tell you is that it is actually quite popular and ranked pretty high. Are you looking it up, Will, right now?
I mean, 8.15 on my anime list. Popularity-wise, in the top, 700. In terms of, how much manga there is in this world, that's phenomenal in terms of how highly rated and how popular this manga series is.
So just reading the, paraphrasing the blurb that is off of my anime list is basically about a group of friends, and then suddenly they get thrusted into this game, obviously, because it's death games, and money is involved, trust is involved, friendships are being tested, and it has been running for a long, long time.
Yeah, since 2013.
So for it to be still relevant is quite amazing to me.
Now, of course, the show itself is, you're going to have to err on the side of caution, because I have no idea what studio this is. Okuruto Noboru. And if you look on Mal, they've only produced 4 things prior to getting the adaptation for Tomodachi Game. They've made Chojigen Game, Neptune the animation. They've done a couple isekais. That's about it, really. I don't really know much else about them. The producer, one of the producers is Studio Mausu, who's done Kakushigoto. They've done Mitsudome. They've done the Salsa Work Black, but they are more handling the production side as opposed to actually doing the show itself. But hey, look, Death Games, it's the thing right now, and it's probably going to be like this for another couple months. Let's see where it goes.
And it sounds like, at least on paper, that the scores indicate that this might be the one to watch come April.
Yeah, we might start seeing like more of these like death game, battle game, or just like liar game kind of. I mean, actually no, there is a manga called Liar Game.
Yeah, there is.
So yeah, dude, like let's see where this goes. Let's see how long this trend runs for.
Another anime that got announced that is based off of a manga is called Call of the Night, and it is getting a TV anime adaptation next July in 2022. I mean, as in July 2022. I actually read this. I think I read the first 2 volumes even before that this announcement was made a couple of days ago. And all I have to say is that it is quite a weird manga. But one thing I can tell you that if you look at the art style, you will know exactly the art style is extremely unique because there is have you heard of Dagashi Kashi?
Mm-hmm.
It is about a girl who gets involved with this family who is into Japanese junk food and confectionaries and sweets. So, Call of the Night is obviously not about that, but you would have heard of Dagashi Kashi because I think there are 2 seasons worth of content. Call of the Night is about a guy in middle school who cannot sleep. Just can't sleep. And then because of that, he couldn't focus at school, his productivity goes down, and he drops out of school. One day, he decides to just roam the streets at night, and he meets a vampire. And it's about their going out at night and their misadventures. It's extremely unique take on these kinds of shows because they talk about how at nighttime there's no one there, so you can kind of do whatever you want. You know, the roads are empty. You have freedom to express yourself, you know. Whereas during the day, there is hustling, bustling, and people talking, and there's all this like social anxiety. So I'm surprised that this got a TV anime adaptation, and it's going to be made by Leiden Films. So we'll see how that goes.
It's a trusty studio. I mean, like the manga ranking itself is in the top 900. Again, that's stellar.
I think it's too high, but look, maybe if I read on, I think there are 4 volumes out in English right now. So we'll see how that goes.
We have one more anime, one more, just one left. But this one was a prophecy from Fluffy Senpai Jason. So actually, like a couple weeks, not even a couple weeks ago, only it's like maybe last week. We were just talking on WhatsApp, just talking about like certain shows, certain series that we thought they're due a sequel, or at least like something to keep the fans happy because of how long their inactivity has been. Now, in this particular instance, the series we're talking about is Kakegurui, or Compulsive Gambler. It's been 2 years since season 2, or Kakegurui XX, had released on Netflix. But considering that the material for the OG manga has been a little bit slow over the past 2 years, it just means that rolling out a season 3 right now just doesn't make sense. However, concurrently released alongside the OG manga is a spin-off manga called Kakegurui Twin. Now, this serves as a sort of spin-off, but at the same time prequel to the lead-up of what happens in Kakegurui, and it's been running for, I think it started running in 2015, so it's been running for 6 years. And Jason was just like, yo, look, like, yo, Kakegurui, I love the show, something's got to give, something must come out. Season 3. Or, if not season 3, at least, an adaptation of Twins. I think they have enough material for it. Well, lo and behold,
within the next 24 hours, Will out of nowhere texted me. I mean, I think we were just talking on WhatsApp, and then all of a sudden, Will was like, "Dude, you got it!" And I was like,
"Holy fuck, Jason!" What? And you're like, question mark?
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
Like, what happened? What? Kakegurui Twin spinoff got an adaptation.
And I was like, shut the fuck up. There's no way. You're fucking with me. And then, lo and behold, that's happening. So, Kakegurui Twin, which is a prequel, which is based off of the manga of the same name, it is going to be made by MAPPA, which made the first 2 Kageguruis. And it centers on Mary, basically, which shows up, obviously, as one of the titular main characters in season 1 and 2.
Yep. They have a projected air date for Isbal, August 2022. So, look, it's still a while away, but at least you know there's something you can expect to see next year that is Kakegurui related. And I'm very, very happy about it.
And hopefully this would buy time such that they can then make season 3 when there's more content to come out. Because I think, at least for the English official adaptation of the manga, there's 12 volumes out. So plenty of content to do at least 2 seasons. So I'm anticipating Twin Season 1, Twin Season 2, and then Kakegurui OG Season 3. If they were going to do it, basically.
Yep. And then, just to briefly update everyone else as well. So, we talked about, Call of the Night. We talked about, what was the other one we talked about? We talked about Tomodachi Game. So, just to briefly summarize, Tomodachi Game expected to drop in April 2022. And the Vampire manga Call of the Night, the adaptation will likely drop around July next year. So, 2022 is looking to have some new releases, some continue. I mean, we knew that Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan would be dropping out, just like Chainsaw Man is going to be coming out. So it's cool to see that at least, whilst we're still a year away from those things being released, we have things to expect. We have things to look forward to. I'm really happy about Bungo Stray Dogs as well as Kakegurui Twin. So, let's just see how it goes.
And don't forget the most important one, Spy X Family.
Yes, but you know we're really gonna be fucking happy about that shit. Speaking of which, I just got an update on Reddit about the top 10 anime of the week from Anime Corner.
Oh, fuck it. Let's go. Oh, Anime Corner.
Yeah.
So, okay. A bit of context here. Anime Corner is one of the other anime aggregate sites that compile kind of popularity polls and such like that. Usually, Reddit is the anime subreddit of Reddit is a very big source that people go towards. My Anime List is a very big source that even we use a lot. But Anime Corner is a bit interesting because they always do weird shit, basically.
Well, I have the updates right here. It's ranked from 10 to 1, of course. I'll start from the bottom, okay? So, dropping 2 rankings from 8 to 10th is Taisha Otome Fairy Tail.
Okay.
Now, this was actually really disappointing for me because I thought it was doing really, really well. But dropping 3 rankings from 6 to 9 is Usama Ranking of Kings. So it's 9th. Number 1, going up 1 from 9 to 8, and this is one I think you talked about in the last 2 episodes ago. Irina, the Vampire Cosmonaut.
Oh, fuck that show.
Yeah, it's gone up. Keeping its same rating from last week is Komi Can't Communicate at number 7. Number 6.
Wait, Komi is at number 7?
Yeah.
Okay, that means like something like Miruko-chan is top, number 1. Okay, I mean, go in order, but that's my guess.
Okay, so that's your guess, right? Number 6, jumping up a whopping 5 to go from rank 11 to 6 is Banished from the Hero's Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside.
No fucking way. Not even Assassin's Isekai, but that one?
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, it jumped a lot. Now, this one's also kind of disappointing, but sometimes they might have to fall a bit. Dropping in from number 1, 4 spots down to number 5 is part 2 of 86. Dropped 4 in the rankings. It held top spot last week, and now it's dropped down literally mid-table.
Okay, I think My Senpai's Annoying has to be on there as well.
We'll get to that. Number 4, dropping down 1 from the rankings, so from 3 to 4, is The World's Finest Assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat.
Right.
Boom.
Assassin Isekai, okay.
Now we're getting to the top 3, and every one of these jumped up in the rankings. Number 3, jumping in, actually swapping places with Assassin Isekai, is My Senpai is Annoying.
Yep.
Number 2, jumping up from 5th all the way to 2nd, 3 spots in the ranking, is the Chan of Miruko.
Okay.
Miruko-chan
Oh, God.
is number 2, which means that taking the top spot for this week, jumping up 1 from 2nd.
Platinum End. I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. Platinum End's not even on this list, man. Fuck that shit. But it did get the largest percentage increase in terms of the voting. So, from 2nd to 1st, Jobless Reincarnation, Mushoku Tensei Part 2.
Now, I want to emphasize one thing from these 10 animes that are on their top 10. Demon Slayer is nowhere to be seen. Now, of course, I would say in Reddit, it's also not doing super well, but it's kind of crazy that Ranking of Kings is my anime list ranked number 1, and it is, what, 9th? Or 8th? 9th. Jesus. That's why Anime Corner is just like the weird curveball.
I mean, there are people in the comments saying like, "Oh, do you remember back in the day when Re:Zero like got like a 5,400 point fucking karma boost simply because that episode was action heavy?" And then people just doing the little like Italian hands, like, "Hey, Fugazi," like you know this shit happens. We're simple folk, dude. We're not that hard to entertain sometimes. Oh well, that's the Anime Corner rankings. That's not our rankings because we don't want to do that shit. We don't want to piss everyone off, but we might at some point. But the main thing is we got 6 new adaptations coming out next year. Really, really happy about that, right? We got Call of the Night. We got Spy X Family. We got Bungo Stray Dogs Season 4. We got Season 2 of Tonikawa, right? We got Kakegurui Twin.
Wait, did you say Season 4 of Tonikawa?
No, Season 4 of Bungo Stray Dogs.
Right.
And Season 2 of Tonikawa.
But actually, that one, we don't know if it's 2022, but we're assuming.
Well, at least it got greenlit for a second season.
That is true.
And then the other one is, I forgot.
Tomodachi Game.
There you go. Tomodachi Game. Cool. Right. So that wraps up the watch read section along with the news section. We're going to go on a nice deserved break because, wow, I feel a little bit more perked up. I felt like shit when we were doing the recording.
Yeah, I mean, I felt terrible, and like the fact that I messed up quite a bit. It's like, Jesus Christ. But
this show is going to be slated to finish. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it by the end of the year. So, Will, when do you think you're going to finish it?
Well, Will, when are you going to finish it then?
Okay, realistically, when I'm going to finish 86 Part 2, I can't tell you because holy fuck, like the end of the year is going to be stacked with shit that we need to watch and discuss. I'm not even sure I'm going to finish 86 Season 1 before we record the next episode, but I will try, so we will see. Anyways, we're going to go on a quick break. We'll come back, and then we will discuss today's nitty gritty, emotionally heavy discussion topic of the week.
So excited.
We'll catch you later.
Later.
You are now back for the second half of today's episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. It's still Will, still Jason. We have hopefully recovered from our first half goofiness. Had a little bit of water, had a little bit of rest, and we're ready to crack on with today's episode discussion. Right, Jason?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you remember a while back there was like those old commercials of like, this is what your brain looks like. This is what your brain looks like on drugs. For us, just like, this is what our brain looks like on lack of sleep and too much anime. And we're just like zoned out. That's pretty much how like the first 10 minutes of today's episode ran. But hey, look, show must go on. We're back on our high horses. We're ready to rock on. And we're going to be talking about a discussion that both Jason and I, particularly Jason, but for me, definitely growing over the past couple of weeks. An anime studio that both Jason and I, and a lot of people around the world really hold dear to our hearts. We're talking specifically about the studio Kyoto Animation, or KyoAni for short.
Absolutely. When it comes to KyoAni, I think, and we will get into that, they're very well known for several things. And we are going to go over their brief history and, more importantly, some of their works that Will and I have consumed throughout not only the past couple of weeks, but also just, at least for me, my anime watching career.
Yeah. So they're known to have done some of the most beautiful, most heartwarming, sometimes most emotional TV series of all time. I think for a lot of people, even if you don't really follow Kyoto Animation, you almost definitely have watched or heard of one of the shows we'll be discussing. But before we go into that, there is another thing that we should probably address and talk about beforehand, because as much as we talked about how beautiful the story of Kyoto Animation and where they've come from is, they're also tinged with a little bit of tragedy, a very strong tragedy actually, that happened just over 2 years ago. So the specific incident we're talking about is the 2019 Kyoto Animation arson attack, which happened on July 18th of 2019. Now, this was a attack that was essentially conducted by the suspect Shinji Aoba, who essentially wanted to exact revenge on the studio because he was accusing the studio of plagiarizing one of his novels. And during the attack, he essentially set fire to Studio One, which is the building of one of the buildings of Kyoto Animation. The attack itself had murdered 36 people, injuring an additional 33, and a lot of the materials and resources and computers within the studio were also destroyed. So a lot of things were lost. Among those who were, lost their lives were the directors Yasuhiro Takemoto, along with Yoshiji Kikami. The suspect himself was also severely burned in the incident as well. Now, he has been formally charged for his acts, but whatever the result, it doesn't take away from the fact that the loss of lives is a very heavy, dark history on Kyoto Animation. Not through their own fault. Nothing they could do about it. It was an incident that was completely preventable only for the fact that someone decided to exact revenge and cause harm to innocent lives. So before we go on, we did want to just at least give some remembrance and release a quick statement. So on behalf of all Kyoto Animation fans, the anime community, and just as humans and human beings in general, the Good Anime Palette podcast would like to pay our respects to the victims of the tragedy. Now, out of respect for the victims and their families, we will not disclose their names to avoid any further bereavement and pain for them. But we do hope that the families, friends, and acquaintances of the victims have found the peace and support they need, and they will continue to receive love and care from our community.
Now, when it comes to this tragedy, I actually remember that day very fondly because I was actually having lunch with a group of coworkers, and one of them is really into anime and manga, and she showed me a photo of the building up in smoke, and it was one of those things where it didn't quite register with me exactly what was going on until a little bit later did I finally realize the gravity of the situation. So for better or I just remember that day. And yeah, do you remember that day, Will, when you heard about the news?
Absolutely. You never expect this. To be fair, it was the first of its kind as well, like an attack on like an entertainment media studio. So to see something of that scale as well, it was just tragic to see, and you really couldn't do anything but just look in shock of what was happening.
Yeah, they say it's the deadliest massacre in Japan since the end of World War II, dude. That's insane to me. But another thing that I would also like to mention is sometimes at the darkest hour, people come together, band together, and show support and love for not only the victims, but also for the anime industry at large. And it's too long to name all the charitable organizations, all the love that every single weeb, anime, manga fan, light novel fan is out there that showed their support for KyoAni. And seeing that, even though, as you said, Will, it shouldn't have happened, but the fact that it did happen, but you can see that there are people there that just love anime and manga and also love KyoAni, including us. So, yeah.
We just wanted to make sure that, anyone that ever was affected, even to this day, by this tragedy, that, you have our full support and love, and that we all end up finding the peace that we need to be able to move on from this. We don't want this to be a stain on the industry at all. Nothing against the anime industry at all, right? Like, plagiarism accusations or not, this is not the way to go about things, and we hope that moving forward. I know that actually, like the fire departments in Kyoto actually have now devised specific devices to deal with gas-related fires. So there's definitely a lot of safety precautions and measures that are being put in place to prevent any of these kinds of instances from happening, or at least to reduce and minimize the damage and death that could be caused from it.
Now, when the perpetrator said that the Kyo Animation staff or whoever, the studio at large, plagiarized his work, he was referencing a particular scene in a particular Kyoto Animation anime. It is Tsurune, which is about traditional archery.
Yeah, Kyoto.
Yes. Now, specifically, it mentions a scene in episode 5 that takes place during a supermarket. And I think that you should, at the very least, watch it so then you can understand the context. Because for me, when I watched it, there's
no words to put together for you to like describe like how shocked and disappointed you are that because of this particular scene and how they felt that they were being ripped off or plagiarized, that they then decided that taking lives and destroying property was the right course of action. It was just a horrible act of just evil, really.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But sometimes these things don't make sense. So
yeah. Well, the good thing as well is now that since the tragedy, there has been a good level of recovery. We have seen that things are now back up in operation for Kyoto Animation. They've released several movies along with the latest season of Kobayashi Dragon Maid S. So look, it doesn't mean that everyone's moved on. It doesn't mean that everyone is back to normal. What it does mean is that despite these setbacks, despite this tragedy and loss of life, that no matter what, we will all pull together to be able to put together some of the most beautiful moments in anime history, and will continue to grow the community. It's just all about love and care, and that's just something that I love about this whole community in general.
Yeah, and the reason why I mentioned the episode 5 of Tsurune now is because we're definitely going to talk about that anime series when we go over KyoAni's anime catalog. And I don't want, at that point when we talk about Tsurune, to mention this particular point because I just feel like we just should address it first and foremost, pay our respects, and then celebrate this amazing studio, which in my mind is one of my favorite studios of all time, period.
Yep. So now let's go into the regular discussion. We can now move on and now talk about like the beginnings of Kyoto Animation, right? Like this is not like some brand new studio. They have a long history in the community.
So, Will, remind me, Kyoto Animation is based where?
It should be based in Kyoto, right? It has to be based in Kyoto.
Is it based in Kyoto?
I don't know.
It is based in Kyoto, sorry. I was just trying to lighten up the mood a bit. But Kyoto Animation was co-founded in 1981 by a married couple, Yoko and Hideki Hata, which I thought was pretty interesting in terms of a couple literally starting this company. And it became a limited company in 1985 and a corporation in 1999. I won't go over the differences, but there is legal ramifications, basically. So, Yoko Hata, who serves as the company's vice president, she worked as a painter for Mushi Production until she moved to Kyoto after marrying her husband, and who at that time served as the president. And I think this is quite an interesting point already, because back then, even though it was not that long ago, for a woman to serve as a company's vice president reminds me of Ong Choi from Science Saru, and the fact that this woman played a prominent role in not only in the inception of Kyoto Animation, but going forward, the direction, the projects and stuff, and as we will go into later as well, business practices that seem to originate from this particular woman. Another thing that I would like to mention is that, as you might expect, KyoAni is in referencing Kyoto and animation. So even though that's really obvious, I felt like I should say it just in case.
Right. But they're not just the only studio, right? I mean, they're the overall studio, but I think they have an affiliate studio.
That's correct. So Animation Do, they are established in 2000, and they're kind of like the assistant production arm at Kyoto Animation. I think a lot of people usually consider Animation Do to be quote unquote lesser. And I suppose in some respects you can technically label it as such. But I think that the fact that also the company is based in Osaka,
Yeah.
so it's not in like the main location. So
But it still holds its Kansai roots.
definitely. And both is run by Hideki Hata, and they run jointly as one. So even though there is this distinction between the two companies, essentially they're just left arm, left leg, right leg. So we will reference staff members and projects that are made by both of them, and we will use Kyoto Animation to represent both these companies.
Yeah. So one thing as well, actually, which is a major development for Kyoto Animation as well as Animation Do, is that in September of last year, 2020, Kyoto Animation actually absorbed Animation Do. So now they're all just one big chunk, one big unit.
Yep. So therefore, when we say Kyoto Animation now, we will try our best to just say that they're just the same thing at this point. For all arguments, this is just easier that way, I guess.
Now, I know we have a point written next, but I actually want to go into the one after first.
Okay, yeah, I actually like that too.
Yeah, because since we're talking about how the studio got incorporated and the way that they go about things in terms of securing contracts and basically adapting things, we want to talk about like their business sense.
Now, in the industry of anime and manga, if you follow any sort of news or announcements of any sort in relation to this industry, you will undoubtedly hear several things. A lot of which are in terms of mangakas, they are currently always on hiatus they're always on hiatus due to health issues. And from the animator's perspective, you always hear that animators are freelancers, they're overworked, they're underpaid, they're not appreciated, and they kind of burn out real fast.
They may not even be in Japan. They might be an outsourced company in Singapore, in Malaysia, in the Philippines, Vietnam.
Yeah, so it's but we're not saying that like these outsourced studios are, inferior in that sense.
That's just how the general practice is within the world of anime business. Right?
Exactly.
But they buck the trend. Kyoto Animation does things completely differently.
Exactly, because instead of having freelancers as animators being freelancers, so basically once the project is over, that's bye-bye, end of contract, the company employs their employees. They're salaried rather than freelance, and they are also trained in-house. So then they develop their talent. And another thing that is quite encouraging and interesting is that they hire a lot of women, and they also have this reputation of treating their staff very well. And they even won a diversity award in 2024, honoring all the women in animation and their efforts in creating a gender-balanced workforce and encouraging women to enter the industry. And I think that that's an extremely important message that's relevant throughout the times, because it's a pretty male-dominated industry.
One other thing that we also should highlight as well is I think they also try and get a good level of work-life balance. So they definitely focus more on like the aesthetics and the way a frame is put together for an anime, as opposed to just basically hitting quotas, which actually, it's like when you talk about, for example, like Mappa, right? Like in a year, they could be releasing 4 to 6 properties, whether they're series or movies, right? I had a quick look for Kyoto Animation. At most, if you're excluding movies, they're releasing 3 properties a year, and that's only happened like twice or 3 times in their history. Every other time, it's either one series or 2 series in a movie and a mismatch of, whatever permutation you get out of that. So they definitely don't try and just hit those numbers and put out as many series and movies as possible. They rather take their time to craft and put together a really beautiful piece of art.
Now, we've mentioned a lot of the history and the technical information of KyoAni. But when it comes to seeing their works,
their influence as well, right?
I would say that KyoAni shows are quite distinctive. Whether it is in the beginning, nowadays, somewhere in the middle, somehow, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, when you see a certain anime that has that look, you're like, oh, that's that KyoAni look.
Yeah, one thing is they don't compromise on the KyoAni style. Like, they're very good at doing certain things. They're not like a jack of all trades kind of studio where it's like, oh, we'll just do, we've got a huge budget. We're going to do fucking like action adventure. Or we're going to do like another one of them supernatural isekais. We're going to do a rom-com. It's like, no, it's more like there's a certain aesthetic and style that we like. Particularly because of the fact that for them, outside of making anime, they also run their own like light novel publishing as well.
Exactly. So the Kyoto Animation Awards, it was incepted in 2009, and they host this annual award in 3 categories: original novels, manga, and scenarios. So you can basically be an amateur, submit this work, and then be kind of in this competition. So then you say, okay, so you win a competition. What's the big deal? When we'll get into that, because a lot of the winning entries, actually, or even some that got nominated, ended up being very important anime properties going forward. And it is very reassuring to say that, like, oh, it's not just the veterans that get all the attention. Sometimes they want to build talent, build it from the ground up. And as you might expect, some of these people have been at Kyoto Animation since the beginning or have never left since they joined the company.
Very good retention rate. I mean, it just seems like very equal opportunity. What's there to hate about Kyoto Animation? They definitely buck the trend in essentially providing the right kind of work-life balance for a very, very tough and demanding sector within entertainment.
Yeah. Kyoto Animation, I would say, is very well known for several genres. For me, I am, as you know, the fluffy, wholesome guy. So I would consume a lot of slice of life or drama or romance-oriented shows. And undoubtedly, you would definitely come across KyoAni when you go through any of those genres. And just to give you some examples, I'm just going to name off a couple of names that has won a light novel category in their Kyoto Animation Award and then got published and then become anime. There is Love, Chinibyo, and Other Delusions. There's Beyond the Boundary. There's Tamako Market. There's Myriad Colors, Phantom World. High Speed, which is loosely based on Free, the anime. I mean, as in Free, the anime is based off of High Speed. There's, of course, Tsurune. And then, of course, Violet Evergarden. There's also another anime that apparently it was announced called 20 Seki Denki Mokuroku. I don't know how to pronounce it, Will. Is that right?
That's fine. I probably would have said the same thing.
But its current status is unknown due to the data that was lost during the tragedy in 2019.
Yeah. So you can see for sure, right? There's definitely ways to get into Kyoto Animation, ways to get your works recognized, and also, once it gets adapted, like, chances are it's gonna look really fucking gorgeous. Like if we were to sort of give pre-discussion feels about Kyoto Animation in general, their shows are fucking gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely. You just look at Violet Evergarden now, and then you look at, for example, Haruhi Suzumiya that Will really likes, and I really like as well, but I didn't finish all of it yet, to be precise. I will finish it at some point.
And one of the greatest things about all the series of Kyoto Animation, for the most part, is female representation as well.
Definitely. So not only does Haruhi, for example, look just as good as Violet Evergarden does nowadays, or like in at least in you wouldn't think that it's made in 2006, let's just say. But as Will said, the idea of female representation, role models, not only on screen but behind the scenes, is very ingrained in Kyoto Animation.
It's either very strong female leads, or it's a very strong cast of dominant, full of women, and you just watch it and you just are just amazed that no one else really does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. Sometimes the genres kind of pertain to it, right? Like if you're talking about like a rom-com or a slice of life, or something that's a little bit, a little bit kind of Yuri at times.
Yeah. Yuri bait.
But like let's not take anything away from the fact that Kyoto Animation has done a wonderful job in being able to represent a lot of the gender balance, or at least woman empowerment in anime.
Yeah, I actually will say it's quite imbalanced because they always feature the ladies more than the dudes, other than Free, for example, or Tsurune.
They got to do something for like the imbalance of everyone else, right?
Exactly. So, Will, tell me about just sort of your experience with KyoAni, whether it is before we decided to do these episodes and you watched all these shows, and now that you have watched all these shows and are about to talk about it, what was the difference, or what was your journey like?
Before we even got into doing this podcast, right? Before we even started talking about potentially doing a Kyoto Animation episode, the only property I had watched was Violet Evergarden. Just Violet Evergarden. However many episodes there was on Netflix. In the last 3-4 weeks, I have now pretty much watched like 60 to 75% of the whole Kyoto Animation catalog. And I can tell you, it just runs you through the gamut of happy, fluffy feelings and just like a sense of security and bubbliness to, holy hell, it's very, very existential. Like, you feel like you don't really know what you want in life because the characters on screen are doing the same thing. But no matter how down or how happy you are, the one thing that is consistent is just it's vibrant. There's no other word to describe Kyoto Animation other than beautiful. I think if you just describe it in one word, that would be the one. Like, beautiful in emotions, beautiful in feelings, beautiful in color palette, beautiful in character interactions, beautiful in design. There's just nothing really bad to say about how. Stories are beautiful too. The plots are wonderful. Like, that's just how I feel about watching Kyoto Animation, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah, my experience with Kyoto Animation kind of goes way back because, as Will knows, and as you listeners might know, when it comes to slice of life, kind of wholesome, even Yuri bait stuff, it's right up my alley. So it comes to no surprise that I would watch Kyoto Animation stuff. And I actually, before we decided to do this episode, I already consumed quite a lot of it.
But the main stuff you haven't watched were like maybe some OVAs, like maybe sequel movies,
and also pre-KyoAni stuff, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So basically before 2009, I think KyoAni came out. Yeah,
that's correct. So Will and I have pretty much watched a little bit of or completed.
It's actually kind of funny. Before we actually started categorizing this, it was like basically I watched all the pre-KyoAni stuff, and then you watched all the post-KyoAni stuff.
Yeah, and we then separated into 3 arbitrary categories.
Like, that's definitely not how they should be defined, but like these will definitely make you feel in terms of the category that we're about to announce.
Because we thought about doing it chronologically, but then we thought that is not a very balanced kind of discussion, because there is merit in kind of grouping some of these works together in a same quote-unquote category.
Yeah, it's like, for example, like you just sit like stuff that was before KyoAni. Yeah, a lot of the stuff they were adapting were from very similar kind of sources, and then after KyoAni, it got a little bit more wild, and you started like exploring light novels, visual novels, manga, originals. So there was definitely a lot more like freedom and flexibility in what Kyoto Animation wanted to produce and adapt.
Now, I will say this: the reason why KyoAni is mentioned as kind of like this tipping point is because, at least from my kind of perspective, when you look at people who know Kyoto Animation, most of the time you would know Kyoto Animation either before KyoAni was made, or you would know after KyoAni was made, and you don't consume the other. That's not to say that there aren't those people that consume all of those shows from beginning to end. So, but it seems to me, at least from a very, very personal and subjective opinion, KyoAni is kind of a tipping point that a lot of people kind of gravitate towards too, in terms of the KyoAni then and the KyoAni now. So, yeah.
We'll go into it a bit more later on, but it's definitely a very interesting discussion topic because it just seems like certain things are too coincidental to be like, oh, but that's just how things develop at Kyoto Animation. No, it definitely seems like there was definitely some input to change things and make Kyoto Animation the way it looks today, despite the fact that the old stuff also still looked really good. But we're going to break this into 3 categories, as Jason mentioned, right? So we talked about feeling fluffy, feeling down, feeling somewhere in between. And that's exactly how we decided to categorize the discussion topic of today's studio, which is the happy-go-lucky, the kind of wear you down and make you a little bit sad and depressed, and then the somewhat in between, and just sometimes maybe it's a bit weird, maybe it's a bit funny, but either way, it still exists within the Kyo universe. So let's start off with some of the sad shit, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Now, it's funny that a lot of the sad stuff that we want to talk about actually happened before before KyoAni. The first one that we should talk about that I have watched everything for, and I think you're very close to finishing, is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Sorry, were you?
I was trying to remember that, just because I was remembering the something. I was like, but the disappearance is the movie.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, I had a little bit of a brain fart there.
So, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is, as you might have heard in our episode 16 when we talk about high schools, a pretty interesting property. Because, for example, it's based on a light novel of the same name, and it was on hiatus for the longest time. But now, on November 25th, they will release the 12th light novel called The Intuition of Haruhi Suzumiya after a 9-year break from publishing. So that's actually quite a big deal. Also, Haruhi Suzumiya is very well known for their dance routine that is in their ending ending sequence. And I'll just go over each of their anime adaptation details in terms of the year, and there is the 2006, which is what people would know as season 1 of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is 14 episodes. Then 3 years later, in 2009, depending on how you want to consume it, it's either 14 or 28 episodes, because they rebroadcast season 1 and then added in what people now call the season 2 of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. So when people say that they watched The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, you need to ask them, is it the 2006 version or 2009 version? Because it actually matters. Then there is the finale movie that came out in 2010 called The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. This movie is ranked extremely high at a My Anime List score of 8.63, ranked 65 and popularity 295. And it's like 3 hours long. And Will watched it, and Will loved it. Gave it a 10 out of 10, I remember.
It was one of the most emotional moments in my life. It was just such a wonderful movie. But let's just briefly talk about what Haruhi Suzumiya is all about. So it follows the central character, of course, Haruhi Suzumiya. But the main focus is actually on the male MC, Kyon. Because he goes to school, he finally gets to meet this weird kind of eccentric girl that people don't really understand. Like, she's definitely like not unpopular, but also like she's a bit standoffish because she's always seems to be in her own world. She's always trying to do her own things, Haruhi just seems to wander off and just explore literally the universe and all the questions that she has about what exists around her. And that's exactly what the show is all about. Literally, it's just trying to understand what goes on in Haruhi's head and how she deciphers what it means to live on this earth whilst all these random shenanigans happen around her, because you start building your ensemble cast. There's like a really cute kind of redhead girl who's always not really bullied, but kind of being pushed by Haruhi to do certain things against her will.
I mean, she's hazed a lot.
There's also like a very, very, very chill little... Is she a coup? Would you say she's a coup?
100% a kudure.
But like, it's funny because it's like she doesn't really have much display of emotion, so she's definitely the coup side, not like the coup, but the coup, as in like she is emotionless.
Yes.
But she's also one of my favorite characters in the whole show.
Yuki, right?
Yes, and then there's also another male character which also kind of acts as a foil for Haruhi, because he's definitely the more not as shy and timid, or not as quiet and standoffish, but like in the middle where he's like, he's calm, he's chill, collected, very much an actual exact opposite of what Haruhi is. Now, to go more into Haruhi Suzumiya would essentially spoil the show.
Yes. So, at this point, everything sounds pretty normal. Oh, high school. Oh, weird kind of offbeat girl with his kind of with an ensemble cast. Some are a bit kudere, some a bit dandere. Yeah, whatever, right?
Now, one thing we also all know as well, I think both Jason and I will tell you this: if you are to watch Haruhi Suzumiya, just note that it is broadcast not in book order, not in chronological order.
Oh,
that
yeah.
The first episode is a very weird one, but when you watch it and then you watch everything else that comes afterwards, it'll lead into a much bigger appreciation for what episode 1 is in the 2006 adaptation of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
So I think and what I would consume in terms of the order is you consume the spring 2006 season 1, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Then for the 2009 season 2, you can just technically just watch the new stuff, which if you Google online, they'll tell you which episodes are the new stuff. Then, once you finished all of that, you are ready to embark on the 3-hour journey that is the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Everything is wonderful. It's one of my favorite series of all time. Now, no, there is also a spin-off series, which is called The Disappearance of Nagato Yuki-chan, but we will not be discussing it today because it was not a Kyoto Animation adaptation. That one was done by Satellite. So we will not mention that, but just letting you know that there's more Haruhi content if you have already watched the movie and the first 2 seasons.
So Will kind of gave you his 2 cents on it, which is that it's awesome. And I also agree that Haruhi Suzumiya is extremely awesome. It also is one of the, I guess in my mind, one of the more memorable series where things are not exactly what it seems. And then when those things end up revealing themselves, things go crazy in like the best way possible. So I will definitely finish all of it. It is just, unfortunately, as it always is, a matter of when. So, yeah.
Yeah, never if, but when. Okay, so moving on from Haruhi. Okay.
You're in the driver's seat, Will.
What I'll do is I'll mention both of these properties at the same time because there is one thing I do want to mention here, right? One of the more renowned series, and we're not talking about Violet Evergarden. We'll talk about that later. But one of the most renowned anime series of all time from Kyoto Animation is Clannad. Now, not because of Clannad the first season, but because of the subsequent season, Clannad After Story. Now, to get you before I go into Clannad, there was actually another property that they had done before, which is called Canon, spelled with a K. I'm not going to talk about Canon. The reason being, and this is just my own subjective opinion, Canon is essentially just what Clannad is. And the reason for me saying that is because of the fact that both of them are visual novels. Both of them are actually developed by the same visual novel developer, Key. Now they also had done another show called Air, but Air is actually incredibly hard to find. We decided not to watch that.
Oh yeah, you just pay like $700 for DVDs, right?
Yeah, and you buy like I think a $300 DVD drive, so you can actually watch it, or you buy a PS5 for however many thousands of dollars it's being scalped for right now. So
$1,000 of Hong Kong.
No, yeah, that loads. I think like right now it's like extortionate prices for a PS5. Anyways, fuck PS5. We're gonna be talking more about Clannad. Now, I don't want to really talk too much about Canon because I feel like if you went with either route, you would be fine with it because literally they're both the same thing. They both have a male MC. Literally, their posters are just 5 girls at the front standing in like a diagonal order. Literally, it's the same picture. If you look at the poster for Canon and the poster for Clannad, they're standing in the exact same positions.
And I also have to say that the art style of both Canon and Clannad, even though I have not seen a single episode of either of them, they look almost carbon copies of each other.
And also, like, if I was looking at it as well and I didn't even see who the voice actors or actresses were, I would have thought they'd be the same people because they literally sound the same. But enough about Canon. We're going to talk about Clannad. Now, Clannad is another one of those more heartfelt, emotional stories. And this is one of those series which made me... It didn't make me cry a lot. But what it did do was it left me feeling empty and questioning a lot of things in my life. Because what it does is that it shows you not the darkest moments of what it means to be human, but what it means to not have what you want, not have things go the way you want them to. When you feel like things are going well and they get snatched from you in the last second, even though you have done everything you can to prevent those things from happening. That's what Clannad is. Now, Clannad, to be fair, just to give context again, as I mentioned, was a visual novel, and you follow the route of 5 girls who you go to high school with. So it's, again, one of those kind of like choose your own adventure, develop relationships kind of VNs, right? But you start developing relationships and they start pushing you towards an ultimate goal, which is what happens in After Story. After Story is one of the most acclaimed seasons of all time.
Yeah,
like
it is
8.95.
Yes, 8.95, ranked 14, and popularity 98. Like numbers like that is just Godsmack. Like it's just crazy.
And like when it comes to like visual novel adaptations, like it's really hard to do well because of the fact that you're covering so many routes and so many different storylines. But After Story bucked the trend and it did really fucking well. Now, it's not to say that you have to like go through like anything that's boring in Clannad in order to get into After Story. No, the reason why Clannad doesn't get as much fanfare is because of the fact that it literally had to adapt the hardest part of the visual novel, which is covering 5 different character paths. It's the same thing with Canon, actually. Both rankings are literally only separated by 0.05 or 0. I think Canon's is 7.98 and Clannad is an 8.03.
Yes.
Wow, got that right. Yeah, so it's really, really hard to separate it. And I feel like if you went either way, you will enjoy them just as much. But what Canon does is that whilst you enjoy the story, it'll push you more towards wanting to play the visual novel. Whereas with Clannad, when you finish Clannad, you know that there's going to be one of the greatest anime seasons of all time waiting for you in Clannad After Story. I will say this, though. You will feel lost. You will feel tired. You will feel empty, wanting to find that light at the end of the tunnel. I assure you, when you finish watching everything, you will find salvation. It will be one of the greatest journeys of all time. But it comes with a heavy warning. You will cry watching this shit. I've warned Jason about it, and I know at some point Jason's going to watch it. It might be in a year. It might be in 5. Who knows? But it's a story that's worth reading and watching. Just be prepared that there's going to be a moment where you just run out of tissues because you just cried your eyes out.
I'm hella scared, man. Like I'm not like trying to do a bit. Like
this is worse than Anohana.
Yeah, if you've heard people talk about Clannad and Clannad After Story in any capacity, they are usually tied to the synonyms of crying, basically. Like, and not just like teary, like bawling, assess my life options, figure out what is the meaning of things,
or like just like adjectives, right? Like ugly crying,
yeah, for sure.
Right. So hey, look,
and Will, You attest to this, right?
I ugly cried a couple times. Like, I definitely didn't cry as much as I was when I was watching Anohana. But the thing is, Anohana is meant to make you cry, right? It follows a very tragic story that does have a happy ending. But Clannad doesn't do that. What Clannad does is it makes you question what really means, like what it really means to be a human, what it really means to be a member of society. When sometimes it teaches you that sometimes change is not for better, is not for worse. You just actually don't know how to process a lot of the emotion that comes in from the characters. Again, I can't say any more. You just have to watch Clannad, get through season 1, watch After Story, and thank me later. Now,
Okay.
this is it. I literally just finished this movie 2 nights ago.
All right. When it comes to, I mean, I we're gonna do a list of anime movies, so I don't know if I should spoil this, but fuck it. When it comes to anime movies that I put in my top 10, for the longest time, number 1 for super long time was the original Ghost in the Shell. I still put it in high regards, but it was number 1 for the longest time. Then, at some point, I watched a certain KyoAni film. And that film very quickly took the throne and now sits very comfortably in the number 1 spot of my favorite anime movie of all time, and very likely will stay there. That movie is A Silent Voice, Koi no Kotachi, or some people might know it as The Shape of Voice.
The Shape of Voice, yeah. In Japan, like the direct translation of it is Shape of Voice.
Now, it is based on the manga of the same name, and it is published in English by Kodansha Comics. And I think it's like 7 volumes, so it's pretty good length, so you can read it. But I highly, highly recommend you watch it. If you heard of, for example, To Your Eternity, that finished airing recently, it finished airing recently, the mangaka for A Silent Voice also wrote To Your Eternity. Now,
so you know this shit gonna make you cry.
Yeah. Now, A Silent Voice is about the interactions between predominantly a deaf girl and, let's just say, a guy, basically.
And there is like real life inspiration behind it as well, right?
Absolutely, because the mangaka, her mother, works as a sign language interpreter. And she, because of her mom, she was inspired to write A Silent Voice, and she got help from her mother and her sister working on the series. The manga won the 2015 New Creator Prize, as well as like the Osamu Cultural Prize. And there's just a bunch of awards that the manga and the movie has won. So I won't bore you with the long list of awards.
Generally, the movie though, it's kind of similar to Clannad in that it's not meant to make you cry, but what it does is that it teaches you a story. It teaches you a lot about what it means to be a person and what it means to be frail, what it means to be at the top and then not knowing what direction you want to go into. It's a story about love, redemption, just basically trying to navigate yourself through the trials and tribulations of what it means to grow up as a child, as a teenager, as an adult.
And encountering very heavy subjects like suicide, like bullying, like hazing, like
mental and physical disabilities.
Yes, because one of the main characters is a deaf girl. So it talks about just basically at the end of the day, when you boil down to it, just raw human emotions. And I think that this movie is extremely, extremely powerful.
One of the things that I was talking to Jason about as well is that whilst we talk about Kyoto Animation being beautiful, so I think like just seeing how beautiful Silent Voice is, that's the standard. And that's not necessarily the main focus, at least in my opinion. What it is, as Jason mentioned, is the raw emotion you get from the characters. Again, it's not supposed to be a cry fest, but you will end up crying because you just see like the deepest depths of how low a human being can go. And then how high they can go back up just to see everything crushed down and then bring themselves back up again. It's just one of those moments where you just see someone grinding and grinding and grinding and just trying to achieve what they want, but not getting what they want, and in the end, finally through determination and support, they get that ending. They get that goal, that objective they've been seeking.
And I think one of the things that is very interesting about the Silent Voice, speaking of endings, is the ending of A Silent Voice, and also what you think A Silent Voice is about in the beginning actually is not what it's actually about. And I'm being extremely vague, but the ending is, I think, very bittersweet, but also at the same time extremely beautiful, and I think very thematically coherent and wonderful.
I think like the ending, it makes sense. That's the way it should end.
Exactly.
Right? Because like in the end, like we're talking about like the most raw forms of emotion here. We're talking like we're talking about love, not romance. We're talking about like pain, not depression. We're talking about what it boils down to in its most simple and natural form of a specific emotion, and then how each character interprets it and then sends it back to you as a stimuli. It's just wonderful.
So
it's one of my favorite movies for sure.
Yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10, and Will
10.
So it's not only, don't take our word for it, even though our word is pretty good. My anime list, for example, and the rest of the world also thinks that A Silent Voice is great. It is ranked 8.97 on my anime list, ranked number 13, and popularity number 23. And then on top of that, you have to take into consideration the amount of users that scored A Silent Voice. It was 1,227,199 users.
It's the second highest ranked movie on the platform, just behind Gintama the Final.
Exactly.
And the thing is, Gintama the Final has had like many years of pedigree to build on, but A Silent Voice is A Silent Voice.
Yeah, just standalone by itself. At this point, I feel like I need to mention a certain someone. That person is a director that I hold very dear to my heart, and that is Naoko Yamada. I think Will and I mentioned her name before when we talk about Hike Monogatari that is airing right now, produced by Science Saru. For me, she is known as, at least I just called her, the KyoAni Queen. She directs, writes, storyboards. She pretty much does everything. And she is very, very well known to be the voice, one of the leading voices in Kyoto Animation, and also within the anime and manga industry. Actually, just anime industry, because she doesn't write manga. And her directing, writing, storyboard is just fantastic. A Silent Voice just looks great.
Yeah, get on that shit. Now, moving on to the last of what we consider the ugliest of crying anime within KyoAni's catalog. It's fucking Violet Evergarden. Like, what have we not said about this series?
I will say Violet Evergarden is based on the light novel of the same name.
And then you will also say that not only does it have an anime season, but it's also got a special original net animation and a finale movie as well.
It's almost like
they're all on Netflix. So
yes, they're all on Netflix right now. And I have to say that though, going earlier to the Kyoto Animation Awards, Violet Evergarden is, I think, the first property to win
clean sweep
in all three categories. So that just tells you the kind of pedigree it had before it even got adapted. And then now that it got adapted, the anime season is 8.66, ranked 59, and popularity 56. Note that when we mention scores, so far at least, everything is high 7s or high 8s or low 8s. And then the rank is either super high, or the popularity is super high, or they're both.
No, this is like everything's perfectly balanced. It is just as popular as it is just as highly ranked.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing to say about Violet Evergarden, because it is a very powerful anime.
When it comes to Violet Evergarden, similar to what Will says about things that you might hear when you mention the name Clanad After Story, I think that if you were to say the words Violet Evergarden Season 1, Episode 10, a lot of people will know exactly what you mean, and no other words needs to be exchanged or spoken.
Do you remember the timestamp?
No.
It's near the end, but
I mean, it is near the end.
That means watch the damn show.
Yeah.
Watch everything. It's so fucking good.
I mean, we even mentioned it in the inception of the podcast for our After Dark 1.
Yeah. Okay. I think we were done with the ugly cry. There's definitely like other series that may give you a little bit of a cry sesh, but like not because it's supposed to be emotionally raw and all that. Now we're going to move into
so sorry. No. I just also want to say that even though we categorize all the shows that we just discussed as ugly cry, there's also good wholesome moments, joyous moments, and just a lot of wholesomeness as well. It's just that for our stupid arbitrary differentiation, we put this in the ugly cry category. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Now, time to move on to the moe moe.
Okay.
The joyous moe.
The fluffy senpai is his time to shine.
Now, this is actually more. We can actually do this in chronological order because, funny enough, like when we were talking about Clanad and After Story and Haruhi and Canon, all that sad shit happened before 2007, 2008. So then, I think it's time that we start talking about the moe stuff, and the most moe of them all. Lucky fucking Star, dude.
Lucky Star is a series made in 2007 based on a 4-coma manga of the same name. And season 1 premiered in spring 2007. And it's a 2-cour season, so 24 episodes. Its score is a 7.74. Its rank is 972 and its popularity 255. So you know at least it's pretty popular.
But what's the show about, dude?
The show, as in this section of the joyous moe section of KyoAni, you're going to hear me say this line constantly, which is, the show is about everything, and the show is also about nothing.
It tells you everything about nothing, and it tells you nothing about everything.
I know, like, that sounds like so stupid.
Like, why would anybody watch that, right?
Exactly.
But that's the thing. You're missing the point, right? This is like, we talk about slice of life. We talk about like making jokes like, oh, dude, like people watch it for the supermarket arc. Oh, I bet that grocery store arc hit different, right? This is different. This is not what we're talking about when it comes to like the highest of like SOL. What we're talking about here is just because nothing's happening doesn't mean that nothing's happening.
Right. And we're not just being pedantic in terms of, oh yeah, technically there's dialogue, there's animation, but a thing about slice of life and kind of, wholesome fluffiness that Kyoto Animation does extremely well is, I would say, mundane scenarios, the mundane things that there's no action, there's no crazy explosions, yet there's relatability, there is simplicity in its essence and in its finest. And look no further than the opening skit of Lucky Star, which I will just tell you is a discussion about desserts and various foods and what is the correct way to consume them.
It starts off with one of the main characters literally holding a chocolate pastry and eating it.
Yeah, what is it called? Like a cone?
A chocolate cornetto, they say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Because we know a cornetto as like an ice cream cone.
Exactly, right.
Anyways, chocolate pastry with like cream in the middle. And you can see the character eating it. And then eating it. But then as she's eating it, chocolate drips. So she catches the chocolate. And then eating it. And it drips again. So you catch the chocolate again. And then the character comes in. Oh, you're eating a chocolate pastry. Yeah. So like the way I would eat it would be the other way around, where we eat the filling first so that nothing drips. Oh, but then like if you only eat the filling, you won't get any of the pastry. That's why you slice off one end part so that you don't have only pastry, but you also have chocolate in it too.
It is so mind-blowing.
And it goes on for like 5 fucking minutes.
No, it goes even longer because they then talk about cream puffs.
Oh yeah, they go to other desserts too.
They talk about strawberry shortcake.
And then afterwards, it's like after that, it's like they start talking about yakiniku.
Yeah, man, it's all about the meat, bro.
Wait. You flipped it? You flipped the meat? Why would you flip the meat? That's not the way. That's not how you're supposed to cook it.
The oil is on there. Okay, we technically spoiled a bit of the first skit, but that kind of moment of when you were to watch it and be like, oh yeah, I've encountered that scenario before. Oh yeah, actually, that is a good way to eat that donut or strawberry shortcake. That kind of relatability drowned in this shade of cutesy, what in the anime and manga,
what in the anime fuckery is going on here.
Yeah.
And like literally when I got into like Lucky Star, I was ready to hate it. I was ready to be like, yo, fuck this shit. These girls ain't cute. They're talking about real dumb shit. The music is fucking awful. I'm not watching any of this. First of all, the opening is fucking incredible. I really like it.
I fucking hate the opening.
It's cringe. It's weird. But
It is so cringe.
But I love it because it plays into that. That's literally me. It's like it's nothing about everything and everything about nothing. But it goes balls to the wall about that. And then watching it, like, was like, oh, you don't flip the yakiniku that fast, otherwise you're gonna ruin it. And I'm like, yeah. That do be right. That do be the way you're not supposed to flip the yakiniku. And I was like, why am I agreeing with you? What? Why am I all of a sudden like feeling so relatable to these characters when they're just talking about nothing? But that's the thing. It's supposed to just be a very chill, meta kind of comedy. Like you don't have to take it seriously. And that's why it's so comfy to watch Lucky Star. I like it.
I like it, but I dropped it because it's more of the same. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that, if I ever need to go back to the well, it's always there for me.
And that's usually how it is with skit-based humor, right? Like sometimes it's like you watch like 5-6 times and you're good, but then the 7th time you're like, you know what? It's a little bit dry now. I'll come back to it later.
Okay. At this point, we're moving on to the next piece of KyoAni property.
Pivotal.
And this is, in my opinion, even though I don't think it's the best thing that KyoAni has done, in my opinion, it is the most famous that KyoAni has ever produced. It is called K-On!
Like you would say like K-On! Is like the face of Kyoto Animation.
Absolutely. I think, in fact, I watched K-On! Of all the KyoAni stuff, I watched K-On! First. And the reason is because I heard about it from someone and I watched it. So it's K-On! Is based on a 4-koma manga of the same name.
So similar to Lucky Star, also
Exactly.
4-koma.
It is season 1 premiered in spring 2019 with 13 episodes, and then there's a season 2, spring 2010, with 2 cours, 26 episodes, and then there is a movie that premiered in 2011. What is K-On! About? Okay, band. So there is like these high school girls in a club playing in a band, but actually they don't really play that much.
No.
They actually just sit down and have tea and have conversations all the goddamn time. And that is magical.
It's cute girls running a band, but in order to run the band, they do multiple things in order to be able to be a band.
Now, when it comes to things like you might have heard the saying, cute girls doing cute things. You might have heard the saying, moe. When I hear those two phrases, the thing that comes to my mind right away is K-On! And I think a lot of people, it originated from K-On!, even though it didn't originate from there. Because obviously, for example, Lucky Star is that, but it came before that. But still, I would argue that K-On! Is more well-known. And again, it's really hard to describe how good or in some people's opinion, how bad the show is, because you can't really talk about something and nothing at the same time.
Like when we talk about what they do in the first episode or the second episode, is it really spoilers? It's not spoilers because they're not really doing all that much.
There is an episode where they sign band members up, but the whole thing is like adorable as fuck. But I can't.
Another part, like literally with the first couple episodes, is like one of the main girls who wants to become the lead guitarist wants to buy a guitar, but then it's like,
really good.
oh, you know what? Like, oh, this guitar's 5 times the budget you have. Let's all just get a job. Let's just get a job, and then you watch them do a job for like 10 minutes, and then at the end of it, oh, I can get a discount. Why? My dad owns the music shop.
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
What the fuck? Like, you watch 10 minutes of cute girls doing cute things, and it wasn't even leading up to the cute objective they wanted. But do you care? Are you mad? No, you like it, right? So you're gonna keep watching it.
And that is KyoAni. I think the movie is also pretty good because it actually does not take place in Japan. It takes place, of all places, the United Kingdom, which is what? But at the same time, if you watch it, it's like the most adorable. Again, it's the most adorable thing ever.
I think it's also like in the first couple episodes, they talk about like what bands they listen to that they draw inspiration from. I think like one of the bands like was Beck and a few other bands. Like, so it's like, yeah, it makes sense, I guess, in the way that they want to go to the UK and perform or at least do whatever they're doing. And I don't think they're playing that much music.
And here's the other thing too: even though they don't play that much music, they do play some music, and it reminds me a lot of Haruhi Suzumiya because even though you may not understand this connection now.
They start a school club, right?
But Will does, because there are one musical performance in Haruhi Suzumiya that is animated so fantastic to the fact that the guitar like hand placements is accurate. Everything is just done so well, and KyoAni also follows the same principle.
It was so good that it actually created an actual album. Like, aside from the property itself.
Just think about that. They weren't going to do it, and then they were like, yeah, why not? It's got popular. Let's do it.
Yo, get on KyoAni. Get on Lucky Star. Like, you need to balance out that dark, heavy shit that you watch in the Ugly Cry section of KyoAni's fucking catalog. These two would cheer you up.
Oh my god, we're going over. But fuck it.
No, it's fine. I will say this. The next one we should talk about is Nichijou. Now, I should have told you that I also did watch a couple more episodes of Nichijou last night, just to see if it would change my opinion on the show. It didn't. Now,
okay.
Nichijou of the 3 is actually is actually the highest rated one in terms of like so far what we discussed for the Moe Joyous Moe section of Kyoto Animation, and I can see why. It's really absurdist humor. It's drawn very differently from what you would expect from a Kyoto Animation property, but the girls are still very cute. There are some very extremely adorable characters in the show. However, absurdist humor has to be done well. And unfortunately, at least from my perspective, it doesn't hit the right notes for me. It feels like it definitely makes some people laugh. I mean, there's a reason why it's so popular and so like highly ranked, but kind of like how we felt about Made in Abyss and how it just doesn't hit the right notes. This kind of felt the same in that like this isn't for us.
So Nichijou is a 2011 show based off of the manga of the same name. It premiered in spring 2011 and has 2 cours, so 26 episodes. As Will mentioned, the score for it is really high. It's at 8.46, ranked 129, and popularity 163. So roughly equivalent. My opinion on Nichijou is if there is ever a show where it can be so divisive, from my personal standpoint, Nichijou is it, because some of the skits are downright fucking hilarious. It's just about 3 high school girls just doing whatever, and obviously like other characters and other classmates chime in here and there, but it's so random. It's so
there are 3 skits that I personally really like, but that's it, unfortunately.
I think the skits that I remember that I really like are very memorable, but it's filled in between with so many whatevers.
It's very drab. And the thing is, like, as I mentioned, it's absurdist humor, but like we have stuff like Asobi Asobase. We've got Daily Lives of High School Boys. We've got Psyche K, The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. And all 3 of them are extreme, absurdist, weird, also fun. And I like all 3 a lot. Nichijou follows that same mold, but for some reason, it just doesn't hit that same note for me.
And I also agree as well. That's why I didn't finish it.
It's not a bad show.
It's just a very inconsistent show, is what I would say.
It's not our flavor, basically.
Yes. Now, okay,
this is the part now where it's like it's not so much joyous moe, but it definitely is feel good,
and also visually stunning. Hyouka is an anime based off of a set of novels of the same name. Season 1 premiered in spring 2012. It's a two-cour show, so 22 episodes. There's technically a special, which is a side story that they label as episode 11.5, so it's in between 11 and 12. And it is one of my favorite anime series, not only to recommend, but personally of all time.
Do you think it's kind of slept on? Like, it's kind of a little bit underappreciated? Because when you look at, like, the disparity between its ranking and its popularity, like, popularity-wise, it's 83. Really high. But ranking-wise, it's only 422.
I think the reason why Hyouka is not highly ranked, I think because it is not due to the anime itself, except the very end. Because the ending of Hyouka is, in my opinion, extremely appropriate and very poetic. But I can also see a lot of people seeing that ending and then just think that they just got blue-balled super hard. Now, Hyouka is, again, about a bunch of high schoolers. In this case, 2 girls and 2 dudes in a literary club at their local high school. And
I'm sensing a trend here as well. A lot of the characters that we talk about in all of these shows all are part of a literary club or like a poetry club.
In high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hyouka, one of the things that I really like about this show is that it tries to find mystery in everyday scenarios or very inconspicuous or very what seems to be very superficial stuff. Again, I will be referencing the After Dark one and basically saying some of the same points. So I'll just mention one example. There's the episode where they talk about a library. And
is it about the book?
Yes.
Yes, that one.
So it's pretty early on. So they want to get a book, but it's been always been loaned out, basically. Yeah. And they try to figure out why. And it is so interesting how they go about doing it. And then the journey is very rewarding and very mysterious and awesome. And the answer, even though it's kind of mundane, is also like, yeah.
Damn, they solved that shit.
Or like, oh, I see a helicopter, flying by. What's that about? And you somehow can Sherlock Holmes the shit out of it and find out the real answer.
Case in point, Hyouka is a really, really good... I mean, like, again, we keep saying visually stunning. No. Like, Hyouka is absolutely visually stunning. We are running a bit short on time, so I'm going to ask you a question. What the fuck is up with Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions?
So, Chunibyo is a type of, I guess, trend that is very prevalent in Japanese pop culture. Chunibyo is 8th grade syndrome, which is essentially what you do when you decide to put anime and manga and insert it in real life, saying very cringy and embarrassing things. And, yeah. But this anime is decent. It's pretty good.
So, yeah, I've watched one episode, and I think my issue was because I watched it right after finishing Haruhi Suzumiya, where it was just as weird and mystical and fucking amazing that when I started watching Chunibyo, I was like, it feels like the same thing, but not as good. I might be interpreting it completely wrong, though, because I only watched one episode.
I think if you watch even the second or third episode, you would get a better idea of what they're going for. And in terms of the pantheon of KyoAni shows, this is average or slightly below average. But I have to say that even though it's quote unquote slightly below average, it's also very good.
It's not quite the same as saying it's like hot garbage that you absolutely love, not trash, but like this is it's just like there's really not a lot to go off about it. It's a weaker performing show, but there's elements that make it better for you, so that overall you appreciate it as a whole, right?
Yes. Okay. So I think we're running low on time, but I will only talk about 3 more shows, which I will just tell Will now, so then we know. It would be Tamako Market. Oh,
Sign Euphonium.
yeah, and Kobayashi.
Done.
Okay. Tamako Market is about a girl in a neighborhood shopping mall. Is that correct?
Technically, it's actually a market.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Fuck.
So the thing is, like, if you've ever been to Japan, a lot of times when it's like next to like a large, like sort of like urban neighborhood, or maybe next to a train station, or even like in some of the more like quiet like countrysides, there is going to be a kind of like market where it's not like just like, oh, people selling fruits and vegetables and all that. It's just stalls along like a little kind of narrow path. On one side, they might have like, oh no, they sell dango, or they might sell takoyaki, and then the other side they might sell fresh vegetables. There might be like a fishmonger, there might be like butchers, and then like that's just generally how. And one thing as well is that it's kind of like a very close knit community. In there, you might find a convenience store, you might find a restaurant, you might find someone who sells cigarettes, someone who sells alcohol. It's all just one kind of little neighborhood.
And in this case, our main character, Tamako, is the daughter of a mochi shop that is in this market. And then it literally just talks about their daily lives. Again, slice of life as fuck.
It's so cute, though.
But I have to say, though, of all the shows, this is the fluffiest I've ever experienced in terms of KyoAni, and that's saying a lot. Would you agree, Will?
I didn't watch as much as you did. I think I'm about halfway.
Oh, right. So it's an anime original, turns out, done by the same team who did K-On!, so you can already imagine the kind of tone and vibe.
Yeah, disclaimer, there is actually like a light novel, but the source is not the light novel. As you said, there is a light novel that exists, but the anime series, no relation. At least to my knowledge.
No,
right?
no, as in the light novel, it wasn't adapted from a light novel. It was the other way around.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Other way around. So light novel, they made a light novel adaptation of the original.
Yes.
Of the
After.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So season 1 premiered, there's only one season. It premiered in winter 2013, one cur, 12 episodes, and there's a finale movie called Tamako Love Market that premiered in 2014.
I thought it was Love Story.
Love Story.
I mean, I love Tamako Market, and it's a great story. So
I mean, I love Tamako Market.
I love Tamako Love Story.
I think Tamako Love Story as a movie, even though it is higher rated than the show, I like the show better.
So you would probably recommend to people that if you're going to check out Tamako Market, just watching the series itself will suffice.
Yes, but the movie is good too. Just
if you want more content, right?
Exactly. That's what I would say. If you were to just watch the TV series and that's it, you're all good. Because things like Harumi Suzumiya, if you don't watch the disappearance of Harumi Suzumiya, the movie, you're kind of not doing yourself.
You ought to finish it because hey, look, like there's nothing better than being a completionist about a series that's that good, right?
Okay, all right.
This one's probably the chunkiest one you want to talk about.
So I will leave it to last. Let's talk about Yuri stuff now, basically, at this point onwards.
Oh, you want to talk about that stuff first? Okay.
So
cool.
Let's talk about
dragons
and being a maid. Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid has 2 seasons. It is based off of the manga of the same name. Season 1 premiered in winter 2017, 13 episodes. And season 2 just finished. Last anime season.
Had to wait a whole fucking 4 years for season 2 to come out.
That's correct. In summer 2021 with 12 episodes, and there's a ton of specials and shorts and everything. So it's a whole thing, and the mangas have like multiple spin-offs talking about each of the characters. So it's a whole like universe.
Oh, of course. You best believe the Yuri Bait show is going to also have a Valentine's Day special too.
Yeah, I watched that.
I watched it too. It was kind of cute.
Pretty good, huh? So.
What the fuck is Kobayashi's Dragon Maid? Yo, it literally is a show about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
I don't know what else to say. Like, at this point, when it comes to slice of life stuff, okay, this is as blatant of Yuri stuff as it will get, because it's very obvious that the two female main characters have a sort of relationship that extends beyond, I guess, what you call typical platonic relationship. And they kind of have a surrogate daughter, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. No, or she just be they have a drifter that lives with them basically, but they
Eats everything.
That eats everything. Yeah.
And then it talks about...
No, actually, like very literally, she eats everything.
Yes, she does. And she's also hella adorable. You gotta protect her at all costs. And it's about literally slices of life of these dragons who can turn into humans, like look like humans, and their daily lives with various people of Japan in this... What is it? Tokyo? Does it take
just whatever? It's Tokyo. Yeah,
yeah.
We'll say it's Tokyo.
Yeah, and it's obviously really good.
It's as mundane as it gets. Dragon Maid goes around buying groceries. Dragon Maid goes around playing in the park with surrogate daughter. Dragon Maid picks up daughter from school.
Oh, there's a dodgeball tournament? Yeah, sure.
Oh, one thing is that I thought was really fucking awesome as well. So Kobayashi, the main character, the pink main character, works as a programmer for her full-time job.
I know this.
And then when I saw the source code that she was working on, I decided, look, I got to enter this into the terminal. And I found out that the language she was typing in is Python. And I thought that was fucking amazing. That, like, in the end, like, it was still some reptilian fucking programming language. I thought it was just perfect. They could not have made it any better. If she had done some bullshit like Golang or C++, I would have been pretty mad. But no, they were smart about it. So Kobayashi, again, one of those shows which I was ready to go in and hate because it was like, this is just fucking Yuri bait, dude, right? Like, this is just...
Well, it's not Yuri bait, it's Yuri.
Yeah, this is just basically big titty dragons, right? Like, no, that's the thing. Physics, man.
I mean, yes, there is big titty dragons, but it's also really good.
Yeah, I mean, they're good titties, yeah. So, like, just watch it. It's fucking great. It's really, really fluffy. At times, you're just watching it. They don't bang too hard on like the Yuri romance. It's just it's very soft. Like, you know it's there, but like, again, it's not like the main focus. The focus is just it's a very wholesome show that is supposed to warm you at the end of the day. That's it.
All right.
Now,
the last show that we will talk about is a show that I've already mentioned in episode 16, and it is Sound Euphonium. It is an anime series based on the novel of the same name. Season 1 premiered in 2015 with 13 episodes. Season 2 premiered in fall 2016 with 13 episodes. And then there is a bunch of movies. And I will just quickly go into the movies, which is there are essentially 3 movies that are canon, and one is kind of like a spin-off, which is also canon, but I'll get into that. Movie 1 and 2 is basically recaps with new added footage and performances, because Sound Euphonium is about band, as in a wind ensemble, trumpets,
the whole shebang,
flute, drums, all of it. And it talks about them competing and going to nationals. It's like, yeah, that's it. So movie 1 and 2 are recaps of season 1 and 2 with new footage and full performance footage. And then movie 3 is the finale movie that wraps everything up, and it premiered in 2019. Now, season 1 and 2 I really like. It is, again, as we say with all KyoAni shows, extremely gorgeous. And the music, the classical music part, you talk about Nodame Katabile, the music here is also exceptional. There is some Yuri bait here and there, because the girls, they really mainly just focus on the girls. They'll do super cute things, but they also talk about the harshness of competitiveness and what happens when you don't make the cut, and what do you do with yourself or do with others. Does seniority matter? Should you pay respect to people just because they're older than you or younger than you or whatever? So it's really good. I highly recommend you to watch it. And then it's at this point that I will mention probably one of the more surprising things that I thought. It's not that surprising, actually, but there is a spin-off movie called Liz and the Blue Bird that is based off of 2 side characters in season 2 of Sound Euphonium. So if you want to watch Liz and the Blue Bird, you have to finish season 2 first, or else then you can watch it by itself, but for the full experience, please watch season 2 first, and obviously watch season 1 before season 2.
And as always, like visually spectacular.
It is one of the most subtle shows I have ever seen of my entire life. It is so beautiful, 10 out of 10. And there's no, they do things like something as simple as walking or clenching your fist or tightening your shoelaces. And it tells you so much about the emotional state of that person at that time. Also, it is Yuri as pretty Yuri.
I mean, it's the same way. I mean, like based on how you're describing it, it kind of sounds like how I felt about A Silent Voice, where it's like visually, it's great, music-wise, it's great, but it's not like fantastic. But like what it does things really, really well. Like for example, like when there are like little like quiet sections in A Silent Voice, and then like when the tones are kind of sad, they play a minor key, and when it's like a little bit more better, they start a little more atonal, a little more major. That's the thing about like Kyo stuff, where it's just they do a lot of things really, really well, and the things they do really, really well are like amazing.
So Liz and the Bluebird is directed by Yamada, who directed also A Silent Voice. I have to say though, if A Silent Voice is kind of a little bit in your face in terms of the drama and raw emotions, Liz and the Bluebird is the polar opposite, yet it's just as impactful. It's very subtle. It is extremely like very mundane, but also I don't know what else to say other than this.
Check it out.
This movie is top 3 movies of all time for me.
All right, so that pretty much covers all the stuff that we wanted to talk about, or at least we had time to. I will do a quick rundown of the stuff that wasn't mentioned. So, for example, KyoAni also did Full Metal Panic, Fumofu, but because the original series was not adapted by Kyoto Animation, didn't watch it. Air, very hard to find, but if you want to play the visual novel, I guess you can try and find it. The Sora o Miyageru Sojo, blah, 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 blah. It's a sequel to Munto, and we don't want to watch Munto because it's not a KyoAni thing, so didn't watch that. Free, Iwatobi Swim Club. We watched like one episode.
Do you like pretty boys in a swim team?
Like swimming.
And you like all dudes?
You do?
That's Free.
Watch Free.
Oh, you like pretty boys, but they do Japanese archery?
Watch Tsurune.
Okay.
Beyond the Boundary.
I wanted to talk about Beyond the Boundary a lot, but unfortunately we don't have the time.
But we'll get to it at some point.
We will touch upon it at some point.
Amagi Brilliant Park. It's okay, right?
It's okay. It's about a guy who tries to run a theme park that's been broken down.
Yeah. Myriad Colors Phantom World. I think you mentioned that it is not the worst. It's not the best, right?
No. It's the worst KyoAni show in their entire catalog, and it shows.
Damn. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. Those are literally all this minus a couple of movies and all that. That is the full catalog of Kyoto Animation.
Damn.
Throughout the years.
I should have given more time.
To be fair, we spent a lot of time talking about Haruhi Suzumiya. But
yeah, we did.
But the thing is, right? Like the thing with these shows is that there's so much depth in them that we want to try and give you as much information without giving away the sauce.
And it's not just that, but also it's really hard to sort of describe the feeling that you get from comfiness, the wholesomeness, or describing slice of life is extremely boring when you put it down in words.
Yo, buddy. You should check out Lucky Star, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah. So Lucky Star is so this girl's eating this chocolate cake, right?
Yeah.
And like she eats the corner of it, but then like another girl comes over and says you should eat that corner instead. And then afterwards the girl's like, oh, actually that's the kind of technique I use to eat sugar puffs. Oh, you eat sugar puffs? Okay. Like how the fuck are we supposed to like explain to you what the majestic shit about the show is unless you actually end up watching it?
Oh, hey, Will. So, bread dough, right? When you knead it, and then you put it in the oven, and then you make bread, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you grab, a bread knife, and then you were to cut a slice of bread from that loaf of bread.
Right.
Wouldn't you say then that's analogous to a slice of bread, which in this case, you can attribute bread to life. And just now, when you took that slice, it's a slice of the person's life. Encapsulates that moment, bro.
Yeah. All anime is bread. we're all kneaded from the same dough, basically. No, that's the thing. The Kyoto Animation has throughout the years just consistently pumped out beautiful shows,
and they will continue to do so.
Story wise, it's beautiful. Character design, character development, music, just stills and animation, everything merged together. It's you can't deny that in terms of just the word beautiful. You have to apply that to Kyoto Animation and no other studio.
All right. That is the end of our episode. A little bit of housekeeping. You can always reach us through our email, gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. You can also contact us on Twitter using the handle @PaletteGood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word. We have a Facebook page at www.facebook.com/PaletteGood. Capital P, capital G, all one word. We have a website, and we encourage you to check it out. If you were to check out the About page, you would have known that Kyoto Animation is one of my favorite studios of all time. And Will's favorite anime is, well, you can visit our website at www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. You can also join us on Discord. The invite link is in the show description. We also have a My Anime List Club. The invite link is also in the show description. Alternatively, just email us. We'll give you the invite link, no problem. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Glitterati by Morrow. Our break music is Up and Down by Toby Tranter. And our outro music is Sunset Dew by Lupus Nocte. Our music was provided courtesy of epidemicsound.com. If you're interested in using Epidemic Sound as a service, we'll have a referral link for you that's provided in the show description. William, I just remembered that I kind of just called you out back there. I feel bad.
You also called me by the name William as well. Which,
I know.
Damn, dude.
Because I feel bad, so I feel like I need to address you in a formal manner.
We should also address the fact that today's episode was a heavy one. I think that, like, one thing that we should always take away from any animation studio or any work of art is that, you know, the people behind doing these shows, these series, you know, they put a lot of time and effort to be able to give the viewers and listeners, you know, something to enjoy, something to look forward to.
And it's a collective effort, right?
And when one thing that we will never stop believing in for Kyoto Animation is that they will continue to attain and pursue success and beauty in the craft that they work on. And we wish, like, way more success, way more happy stories, and we cannot wait to see what else Kyoto Animation will come up with.
I can't wait to smile, feel wholesome and fluffy inside, and also bawl my eyes out and feel that spectrum of emotions due to the works of Kyoto Animation.
I'm gonna go home and watch more Tomoko Market after this.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think I'm like I'm halfway there, and I didn't expect to like KyoAni. Again, a lot of things. I didn't expect to like Kobayashi. I didn't expect to like Lucky Star. I didn't expect to like Clanad. I didn't expect to like Haruhi. But every single thing I've watched is an 8 minimum. I gave 2 shows a 10.
Yeah, I gave a Silent Voice a 10, but I watched it ages ago. I gave Liz and the Bluebird a 10. I pretty much gave everything a 9 or an 8.
Like, don't even think about the fact that, like, there's no edgy action or, like, there's not enough violence and shit. No, like, you're not supposed to be expecting that from Kyoto Animation. What you are supposed to expect is that this shit is going to change your life. It's going to change your perspective on things, and it's going to make you a better person. I love KyoAni. I never hated it to begin with.
Who doesn't?
It's just more like, I never really thought about it, right? But then, like, it's just watch more of their stuff, from Clanad to Haruhi to Hyoka to Euphonium to even, like, fucking Lucky Star. Like, wow. I will say this. Nichijou, I will continue to watch a bit more, but I don't know if my opinion will change. But hey, it's still not a bad show, right? So, we're going to continue doing this as a series, analyzing more studios, maybe some more publishers. If we decide to go to the manga realm, who knows? The possibilities are endless. But what is endless is the duration of today's episode, because we have officially run out of time.
All right. That's it, guys.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Go pick up some, dude, there's a bunch of KyoAni stuff on Netflix.
Okay, I'll just say this. We just spent like an hour and a half talking about Kyoto Animation. Please just check one of those shows that interests you. And
Clannad is on Netflix. Haruhi's on Netflix. Violet Evergarden is on Netflix. Pick one of those and just get started.
Crunchyroll, Funimation, or whatever. Like, just watch it. And if you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. but I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that if 10 people were to watch it, 9 people would say that, oh, that is awesome, and then that one person is just plain wrong. Okay, anyways, that's the end of our episode.
Okay, one last thing. What would you say would be the gateway to KyoAni for you? Like
KyoAni, easy.
KyoAni?
Easy.
I was going to say Kobayashi, but KyoAni I can see too. Kobayashi is a bit...
No, because the Yuri thing, not a lot of people like.
I think it's like once you watch that, you're pretty much ready for everything else within Kyoto Animation. But I can see the KyoAni thing too. KyoAni is like the de facto face of Kyoto Animation. So, there you go. That's our 2 cents. And that's also an hour and a half, maybe even more of Kyoto Animation. We will catch you in our next episode where... God fucking damn it. I have no idea how we're going to manage that.
Yeah, we'll figure something out, man.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. We'll catch you soon.
Peace.